Hello, World of Tank Blitzers. It's Littlefinger. Happy Friday, December 31st. It is New Year's Eve, and it is the third week of the auction. We're 30 minutes in. We've seen some movement already. Wanted to go through each of these tanks and talk about their characteristics and where I think a good landing spot to purchase them is going to be. T26E5, with the premium camo, is known as the Sheriff. This tank has those American heavy tank characteristics. Top speed is not great at only 40 kilometers per hour, but you do have a nice gun with 10 degrees of gun depression, and you do have that nice American turret armor. Hull armor, not so much, and the lack of mobility to me makes this a little bit weaker than the other tank that we have in here, which is also the Shark. So, however, this is still a decent tank, and for the price point that it's starting out at 7,000, and it looks like it's not going to be the most popular one. So this might be the one that drags out the longest. You know, if you can get this for 5,000 gold, you're getting yourself a really nice, solid, heavy tank. Now, keep in mind, I don't play it a lot just because of the lack of speed. I prefer mobility, but it does have some nice gun handling to it. Now, the STG here is a Soviet Tier 8 medium tank. It's very unique in the sense that it sports a 122 millimeter gun doing 400 average damage, but keep in mind that the damage per minute on this tank is one of the lowest of the mediums at 1700 damage per minute. We compare that to the T26E5 there at 2300. So it's really an opportunistic type tank where you've got to locate yourself somewhere on the map where you can just pop a shot in and wait. And it's really not a brawling tank. It does have some difficulties in the play style because of the rear mounted turret and the lack of gun depression on it, which is 5 degrees. So that makes this a difficult tank to play. You know, I would say if you can get this for 65 to 7,000, you're doing good. But again, it's not a tank that I play that often just because of the difficulty. It's got the great mobility, but it's just difficult to play. You have to find places that don't have hills, which is difficult in this game. T44-85, well, this is a Soviet Tier 7 medium tank. It's got decent mobility. One of the interesting factors about this is it's got some of the best gun handling on the move, your gun rotation. But apart from that, you know, it's Tier 7. Let's see, it's only got 150 credit coefficient, so most of these other ones are sitting at 170, 175, so not going to make as much credits as the other tanks here in the game. But you know, it's a nice little premium tank. If you can get this dropping here at 400 for, you know, mid threes, I think you'd find yourself getting a good tank at that price. Moving on, we've got the M4A1. This is a French medium tank. I like this tank a lot because it does offer good mobility, and it does have a 105 millimeter gun with really nice pen at 200, and it's doing 350 average damage per shot. So you don't have to be overly exposed on this because you're doing nice amount of damage, and you really don't have to worry about your pen numbers because 200 mil a pen at tier 8 is quite good. 10 degrees of gun depression on it. Overall, 48 kilometers per hour is top speed. 180 credit coefficient is really good. So, I mean, if I would think that this would be a tank that's selling faster than it is right now. So I would say if you get it for anything less than 7,000, you've done well on this tank. Tankenstein, well, the only thing I can really say that's of interest of the Tankenstein is it's got two guns on it. It's got a choice of 130 and 105 millimeter gun. Um, I Obviously, it's more fun to play with the 130 millimeter gun, doing more damage per shot, but your DPM number drops considerably at 1500. I mean, that's horrible for tier 7. 1670 with the smaller gun. So, um, to me, this is not a tank that you're going to play often. This is more of a collector tank. I would think this will be down here at 3,500 before this one sells out. So just keep that in mind. It's really not a tank that is effective. It's certainly not overpowered. So keep all of that in mind. Well, now we get into a tier 10, the WZ111 5A. Uh, I'm kind of mixed feelings about this. It's kind of fun to play. It does have some amazing turret armor, 300 mil of frontal turret armor. Um, this is the price you would pay for a tier 10 medium. So anything below that, is a deal. But I would say if you could get this for 12,000, you'd be happy with that price on the tank. Let's see if I've got it pulled up here with the credit coefficient. 140% on the credit coefficient. It's got 50 kilometers per hour as top speed. So to me, it's just the Soviet pike nose tank that we always see. Um, Although this is a Chinese tank, so keep that in mind. It's an okay tank. I'm not saying it's overpowered in any way. Now, one of the tanks that I do think is overpowered in the auction right now is the T54E2, also known as the Shark. This thing has this solid mobility, great gun handling, great turret armor. If you can get this thing on a hull, it's just on a hill, hull down, it's pretty much impenetrable. 10,000 gold is a little high, obviously, for a tier 8. So if you could wait for this, I don't know how much further it's going to go down. You can see we've already sold 500 in the first 30 minutes. So 9,000 might be kind of an okay place. If you can get it for less than that, you're doing good. The SU-130PM, well, this is a nice Soviet tank destroyer with very little armor. But what I find funny is you do bounce quite a few shots off this front slope plate, and the side profile is kind of funky too. That people often miss, because it has got a giant hole in the middle of it. So it's got a great gun, good mobility, and I would say if you can get this for 7,500, you're gonna enjoy this tank quite a bit. This is a tank that I would do go to from time to time, as is the Shark. So those are two tanks that I think are certainly tanks that are playable more than just collector tanks. Gravedigger, well, this tank that's been around for a while, tier 7. Hybrid Nation tank. It's got what, a 5.7 shell autoloader. I can't remember now, but it's got some interesting armor profile. It is pennable here on the front cheeks with premium for most tanks, so you have to kind of work that into your playstyle and not let people just aim right at that front section of the turret. But it is an interesting tank, especially with the multiple shots. It's got decent mobility for a heavy tank. It's good for kind of ramming, especially in the fun modes that we have. So I would say that, and it's interesting to see that we've already gotten almost 900 sold. I would say 6,500 somewhere in there is going to be a good price for it if you can wait that long. Now another tank on here that wow, interesting. The T22 medium's already sold out, guys. The Skoda T27 is a really nice tank. Burst damage with the 4-shot autoloader is just incredible. You can put out some big numbers in this tank. Yes, it's quite expensive here for 11,000, but if you're looking for a very unique play style, I'm just trying to think here. Anything under 10,000, I think you're going to get you're going to enjoy this tank. I know that's expensive for a tier 8 premium, which we typically see at the 7,500 mark. But I do think that's as I've had some really big games in this tank, so I do think that this tank is a little overpowered. And the Progetto, well, it's kind of interesting that they're selling it for 8,500. 7,500, I would say, is a good price for it. It's obviously it's been free this year. Um, with watching the streams. It's got great mobility. The active auto loader on it is wonderful. Um, and it does bounce a few shots with the rounded turret, but not many. But it's really the mobility and the gun that make this tank super special. And then the K91. Well, this tank we've seen in stores for less than 10,000 gold. So um, it's a tier 9 Soviet heavy tank with a 3-shot auto loader. I would wait if I were you guys because I know we've seen it for cheaper. 85 probably where I would try to pick it up, or 8,000 or 8,500. Not sure if it's going to go there, but um, it is quite interesting though that let me scroll through everything that's been for sale already because I just want to make sure that I'm not already missing this, that in the first 30, 40 minutes, the T22 medium right here already sold. It was at 17,000 gold. So that right there is pretty amazing. 5,000 of those gone in in 40 minutes. So sorry if you guys didn't get on it first when the auction came up, but yeah, you missed out on a really nice tank. But I think paying 17,000 for it is too much. So it is what it is, guys, right? Disappointing for me because there's no new tanks here that I don't already have. So, um, yeah, well, we'll have to try and pick those tanks up next year. So, have fun out there, guys. And of course, Happy New Year. Wishing you just a safe and happy 2022. And if you're not already subscribed, please do so. Hit that subscribe button, helps me out. And of course, get educated, not fingered. Littlefinger out.